Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at Executive Order 14231. It's a new amendment concerning trade, specifically with Canada.
That's right. We've got the official order here, dated March 6th, 2025.
And our mission today is really to unpack what changed, especially, regarding tariffs in the auto industry. That seems like the big one.
Exactly. And context is key here. Just about a month before this, back on February 1st, Executive Order 14193 came out. That first order put duties on some Canadian goods. The stated goal was tackling illicit drug flow across the northern border.
Right, I remember that. So this new order, 14231, is basically fine-tuning that earlier one.
Precisely. It's an adjustment. Seems they realized the initial approach needed some tweaks.
Okay, so what's the headline change? What's the key thing we need to understand?
The biggest news, I'd say, is about automotive parts. The first order potentially caused a stir because, well, the U.S. and Canadian auto industries are so linked.
Yeah, incredibly linked. Things cross the border multiple times, right?
Totally. So this new order clarifies things. It says that automotive articles coming from Canada, specifically those that are already duty-free under the USMCA.
That's the new NAFTA, basically.
Right, the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. So if parts were duty-free under USMCA, this new order says they will not get hit with those extra duties from the February order.
Ah, okay. So if it was already tariff-free because of the trade agreement, it stays tariff-free. That makes a lot of sense.
It does. Imagine the disruption otherwise. You've got parts constantly going back and forth for assembly.
It would be a massive headache, logistics nightmare, probably higher costs for manufacturers, maybe even for us buying cars eventually.
Absolutely. The order seems designed to prevent that. It specifically mentions General Note 11 to the Harmonized Tariff Schedule of the United States, the HTSUS.
Okay, that sounds technical.
It is a bit, but it essentially just points to the rules that make those goods duty-free under USMCA in the first place. It's about minimizing disruption for the U.S. auto industry and its workers. They're acknowledging how integrated those supply chains are.
So a very targeted exemption for the car industry. Makes sense. Now, you mentioned adjustments, plural. Was it just auto parts? I thought I saw something else. Potash.
Good catch. Yes, potash was also addressed. It's a key component in fertilizer, so pretty important stuff.
And what changed there?
For Canadian potash that doesn't fall under that USMCA duty-free category we just talked about, the additional duty imposed by the February order is being cut.
Cut by how much?
It was set at 25%, quite high. This new order reduces it down to 10%. Still a duty, but, significantly less steep.
Okay, 25 down to 10. That's a big drop. So auto parts get a pass if they were already free, and some potash gets a reduced rate. Interesting calibration.
Exactly. It shows a willingness to refine the policy based on, presumably, economic feedback or impact assessments.
And when did all this kick in? Is it already happening?
Yep. The order is very specific. It applies to goods entered for consumption or withdrawn from a warehouse on or after 12:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on March 7th, 2025.
So basically immediately after the order was issued. These changes are live now.
Correct. Very recent.
Anything else in the fine print we should quickly touch on? Any standard legal stuff?
Yeah, the usual bits. It states the order doesn't mess with the authority of other government departments or the OMB's functions. And standard procedure, it mentions implementation is subject to law and having the funds available. Critically, it also says the order doesn't create any new rights that someone could, sue the government over. Standard executive order language.
Got it. Okay, so let's try to summarize. Executive Order 14231 adjusts those February tariffs on Canadian goods. Big news. Duty-free auto parts under USMCA stay duty-free.
And the extra tariff on certain Canadian potash gets lowered from 25 to 10%.
The overall goal seems to be this balancing act, right? Addressing the drug flow issue, which was the point of the first order, but doing it without crippling a vital, interconnected industry like automotive.
That really seems to be the core tension here. How do governments pursue, say, national security goals like stopping illicit flows without causing major, maybe unintended economic harm, especially with neighbors where industries are so deeply intertwined?
It's a complex calculation.
It really is. And it leads to a final thought, maybe for you listening. Thinking about this situation, this balancing act, what other industries out there have these kinds of intense cross-border supply chains? Where might we see similar complexities or need for these kinds of very specific adjustments in trade rules down the road?
Yeah. Food, maybe? Electronics? Definitely
really?
something to keep an eye on.
For sure. It highlights just how interconnected things are.